Hi. I apologize for my appearance. I'm currently in the process of getting ready to go. So, my bangs are drying and everything, but hopefully, that won't affect this review. Especially since most of my reviews, I personally know from feedback that a lot of people listen to them instead of watching them, kind of like a podcast. So, just that one's more encouraged on this one. I want to go ahead and get this out. I'm filming a few reviews at the same time. I'll be reviewing Evil Dead Rise, Spirit Away Live, and Guardians of the Galaxy. This one you're watching now is for Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe it officially came out yesterday. In Florida, we get early access by a day. So it technically came out here Thursday, but I actually saw it the day that it officially came out, so I saw it last night. As always, I'm using the notes that I took during the movie. I bring like a little notepad and I write down notes, and then I transfer them over to my computer for me to look at. And I have to say, I did not like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. There were aspects that were fine. I liked it more than the average Marvel movie. I'm not really a Marvel movie person, but there have been Marvel movies that I've really enjoyed. The first Captain America, when it came out, I really liked it. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was pretty alright. It was probably better than 1. I just was a bit older by that point. I liked Thor Ragnarok, Shang-Chi. There's a few Marvel movies I've liked. Most Marvel movies I've liked have not been in the MCU. Oh, like Spider-Man, No Way Home, older Spider-Man movies. Most of the Marvel movies I like are not in the MCU. They're like animated movies or movies before they technically established the MCU. So don't take if you are a fan of all Marvel movies, I feel like you will really like this movie. But if you aren't a huge Marvel fan, but you aren't really against it, then I feel like you'll probably align your views somewhere with mine. The first thing on my notes is like AI written, and I know that's really harsh, but it really did feel like that. I felt like I could put in the first movie script and the second movie script and be like, write a third installment, and this is what it would turn out. It was very, very predictable. There was nothing really, I would say, that's like original, which I know like all the movies are working on some level of source material, so I don't mean in that way. I mean that like I went into this movie not having seen a single trailer, and I feel like I still could have written out everything I thought was going to happen, and it was what happened. They really kind of like baby-fied a lot of aspects. The Guardians movies are PG-13, which means that you get like cursing and stuff in them. Not so much that kids can't watch. A lot of it gets like cut off, so they'll be like, what the, and then something will happen, but you do get the occasional like shit or douche or something, and so you expect a level of kind of maturity that goes with that, but I felt like all the jokes were like really kid oriented, and there were so many scenes that was so obvious they just were appealing to that younger demographic, or the demographic that like liked the porgs in the new Star Wars movies, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it shouldn't be the driving force of your movie. I'm gonna try and keep this spoiler free, so I'm not gonna go into what that is, but anyone who's seen the movie or anyone that's going to see the movie will be able to tell what I'm talking about when I'm bringing up all these things, like the baby things. The song choices felt really uninspired. So when I go to a Guardians movie, I know that at the very least I'm going to be getting some good music. And the music in this movie is good. But it was so obvious. Like, if it was a song where they were talking about floating in space, it'd be a view of them floating in space. If it's a song about heartbreak, the character would be heartbroken. If it's a song about, like, it was like, it reminded me of Love is Blind, where the lyrics are telling you exactly what's going on in the story. And it's like, okay, we should be getting more of the tone of it, you know? In, like, the first movie, it's more about the tone, like, the feeling that the song gives you as opposed to what the song is about. And it just felt like James Gunn really phoned it in for this one. It just wasn't funny. I only laughed like twice, and one of the times I laughed, no one else in the theater laughed, so I don't know if that was it, but the entire theater was like really dead the whole time, which is not a good sign because the entire theater was packed, like sold out theater. And there were people literally in costume, and it was quiet almost the entire time. The only time that there was any big reaction was this joke that was like, the premise of the joke was this guy has a crush on another guy. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, you know, the joke, it wasn't actually like a homophobic joke and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but it's kind of riding that line, because essentially the butt of the joke, it's a very like early 2000s joke where it's like, oh, but it's like gay, so it's fine. And it's like, yeah, but essentially the butt of the joke is that, like, the entire joke, the whole joke is just this guy likes this other guy. And it's like, that's not funny. And it was especially awkward in a Florida packed theater because everyone is either like homophobic and they're laughing for those reasons, they're nervous laughing or kind of like, ooh, because they're homophobic, or they're like nervous laughing because they think the joke is homophobic and don't like that, which is kind of like the category I was in. It was like a joke that did not play out the way you wanted it to play out for anyone. There was some really bad camera work. Marvel does this thing in a lot of the movies where you can't tell what's going on in the action because of the way that they choose to do the camera work, and this is a movie that really suffers from that. Also, it cheapened the CGI a lot. So it's hard to, like, the CGI was much more obvious when they would try to do these crazy shots, and the crazy shots were just not working out because the movie is majority CGI. There's this big plot point where the Guardians go, I mean, multiple plot points where the Guardians are going to all these places trying to be like incognito, and they just look like themselves in like different clothes. And I'm like, you're telling me that no one, even like higher up people don't recognize their faces? Like, that's like if Superman showed up and people were like, actually, it's not a good comparison because in DC canon, Clark Kent is just like Superman with glasses. So it's actually not a good comparison. A better comparison would be like if Wonder Woman showed up in like a dress and people were like, I don't know who that is. And it's like, I guess Wonder Woman's also DC. That's a good Marvel okay, Captain Marvel fucking shows up in sweats and they're like, I don't know who that is. It's like, you're telling me none of these people in a really high-tech society have ever seen this? Because it's not like they're just contained to Earth either. They're the Guardians of the Galaxy. They've gone all over. So it's like, really? No one recognizes these people. That's just like not believable all to me. Even just a, you kind of look familiar type thing. There's these backstory scenes that the entire movie, you need these backstory scenes. So you can't just cut them out because then the plot would make no sense. But they grind the movie to a screeching halt. And they're so overly sentimental. I kept expecting something to go horribly wrong every single time a scene happened, because it's like that feeling that's like, oh, well, it's so perfect and it's so nice, and then, you know, someone gets shot or something. Every single scene was like that, and then they would just end. Like, no one got shot, no one, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, it was just so cheesy, and it didn't make me feel anything. It was so obvious that they were trying to make me feel something. There's this aspect where they do that thing. Okay, now I'm getting to spoilers. So if you don't want any spoilers, get off now, because everything I'm going to say from this point on is very spoilery. Not very spoilery, but like, I'm going to spoil some stuff. So they do that thing where they refuse to kill off the villain. They're like, that's not us. We don't kill, man. After killing hundreds of like NPCs, like hundreds of like just random people. So they'll kill all these random people and like people working for the main villain, but they won't kill the one that's actually like the bad guy, not just like following orders. And it's like, that makes no sense. Like, it would make sense if you didn't kill those people. And there are a lot of people that they didn't kill that they just stunned. So it makes sense if they did that for everyone. But there were a lot of people that they straight up killed. And then they were like, we don't kill this one guy that tortures and experiments and is a mass genocide person. And it's like, no, kill him. Like, he's the one that you should be killing. Why are people just fine in space? Why does it take them so long to die from anything space related? And even then, they don't die. It just, they act like being in space is like less damaging than being in a fire. And it's like, if you were in space without a helmet for like 2 seconds, you would be dead. And there's no coming back. You're just dead. And it's like, these are not, I'm not even talking about alien characters. I'm talking about human characters. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. They make Groot say a sentence that is not "I am Groot," which they do it for a throwaway line that literally no one in the theater laughed at. Everyone just went, huh? They do it for a throwaway line, and then that opens up so many cans of worms about, like, he can say other things, he understands language, why isn't he speaking normally? Like, it makes no sense, and it was such a waste. They end the movie with an early 2000s dance scene. You know how, like, in the early 2000s, like, all the movies would end with, like, a dance montage? They do that here, and it's horrible. And no one in the theater, I could, like, feel the vibe in the theater was like, it's not good. The end credits are the worst end credits I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not exaggerating. It's literally just, like, really, it's like a black screen with scrolling text, and then really cheap looking fake Polaroid pictures from all the movies just like plastered, like scrolling by. Like, I could make it in Canva, and I'm not kidding. Like, it was so bad. And comparing that, because the whole movie, in my opinion, felt like a worse version of the D&D movie that just came out. And the end credit scenes the end credit scene in the D&D movie is like one of my all-time favorite end credit scenes ever. Like, it's one of those like fake paper animation things where they're showing you like little Easter eggs from the whole thing. And so seeing this one, it was just embarrassing. And the whole vibe of the theater when it ended was like, that's it. And then Will Poulter is such a waste. I'm glad, because he will be back. So thank God they didn't completely waste him. But his character did like nothing the whole movie. It was so obvious that they just threw him in there so they could establish him as like a future Guardian. But he really did nothing in this one. He was like barely there, and every time he entered, he just like immediately just like got weak and passed out. Like, every time. And it's like, dude, do something with him. Or if you're gonna like do something, or if you don't want him to be in it a lot, then establish him closer to the end or something. Because the entire time I was just like, where is he? What's he doing? Because every time he was on screen, I was captivated. And so every time he wasn't on screen, I was like, I'd rather be watching Will Poulter right now. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So for me, this is a thumbs down, which is horrible to say, but honestly, I kind of wish I didn't see it. Is that like really bad? It's just not one that I'd waste going to the movies for. I'd wait till it comes out on Disney Plus, honestly. It's fine. I would say it ranks somewhere in the middle of Marvel movies. Like, it's not the worst by far, but it's also nowhere near the best. And for a Guardians movie, I feel like I have a lot higher standards, and it just didn't meet those expectations at all. So yeah, Marvel people, please don't kill me. Okay, that's it.